The sound of heavy rain echoed against the glass walls of the towering skyscraper. Inside the top floor, a man sat with his head buried in his trembling hands. His suit, worth more than most people's yearly income, looked wrinkled, drenched with his tears. This was Alexander Hayes, the CEO of one of the most powerful corporations in the city. To the world, he was untouchably ruthless in business, flawless in image. But tonight, none of that mattered. His little daughter, Emily, hadn't spoken a single word in 2 years, and no amount of money, power, or doctors could change that. "Please," Alexander choked, gripping the hospital report. His voice cracked like a broken man's. "If any can teach her to speak again, I'll give you everything I own." His words, once sharp like steel, now fell heavy with desperation. It was then, in the silence of the room, that someone answered, a voice so humble, so unexpected, it almost didn't seem real. "I'll try," said Samuel, the janitor. Samuel had been working at the company for almost 15 years. People barely noticed him as he pushed his mop along the shining floors. He had no degrees, no expensive suits, no powerful presence, just a quiet man with kind eyes and worn-out shoes. Yet when Emily sat silently in the CEO's arms, her eyes distant, Samuel saw something others didn't. Doctors had failed, therapists had given up, specialists had written reports filled with complicated words. But Samuel didn't see a patient. He saw a child, a little girl who was trapped inside her own silence. The next day, Samuel asked Alexander for permission to spend time with Emily. At first, the CEO's pride fought against it. How could a janitor succeed where world-class experts had failed? But then he looked into his daughter's fragile eyes and saw the emptiness there. He had no choice. So Samuel began. He didn't bring expensive tools or medical charts. Instead, he brought music, an old, slightly broken guitar he had carried for years. He sat with Emily, gently strumming soft melodies. At first, she just stared. She didn't smile, didn't react. But Samuel was patient. Day after day, he played. Sometimes he sang. Sometimes he simply hummed. Sometimes he told her stories in a low, soothing voice. "Once upon a time, there was a little bird," he would say, "who forgot how to sing. But do you know what she did? She listened. She listened until one day, she remembered." Emily's eyes would blink slowly, her lips trembling, as though something inside her wanted to break free. Weeks turned into months. Alexander watched in silence, torn between hope and disbelief. He had spent millions on treatments, but here was a janitor sitting cross-legged on the floor with his daughter, teaching her not with science, but with love. One evening, Samuel brought out colored chalks. He drew shapes and animals on the pavement outside the company building. "This," he said, pointing at a circle, "is the sun." Emily tilted her head, staring. Then, with a hesitant finger, she pointed at it too. "The broken bar sun," Samuel whispered. His heart raced. Alexander, watching from the balcony above, felt his own breath stop. Emily opened her mouth. For the first time in years, a faint sound slipped out. It wasn't perfect, barely more than a whisper, but it was real. "So broken bar run." Alexander dropped to his knees, tears blurring his eyes. He had been waiting, praying, aching for this moment. His daughter's voice, it was coming back. From then on, the progress grew, slowly, painfully, but surely. Samuel never gave up. He sang with her, drew with her, laughed with her, and with every small word she spoke, Alexander's heart softened. He, the man who once thought money could solve anything, now realized it was love, patience, and compassion that brought miracles. One night, as Samuel tucked the chalks away, Alexander approached him. His voice shook with raw gratitude. "You've done what no one else could. You've given me back my daughter's voice. I meant what I said. I'll give you everything. Name it, and it's yours." Samuel looked at the powerful man, then at the little girl sleeping peacefully with a faint smile on her lips. He shook his head. "I don't want your money, sir. All I want is for Emily to never stop smiling again." That moment changed Alexander forever. He began seeing his employees not as numbers, but as human beings. He lowered his pride, raised his compassion. The company became a place where kindness thrived as much as ambition. And Samuel, though he remained humble in his work, was no longer invisible. He was honored, respected, and loved. Emily grew stronger with time. One day, as she played in the garden, she ran up to Samuel and tugged at his sleeve. Her tiny voice, soft yet clear, carried through the air. "Thank you, Sam." Tears filled Samuel's eyes as he bent down and hugged her. Alexander, watching from behind, wept openly. His empire, his riches, and none of it compared to this moment. And so, the story ends not with wealth, but with a truth so simple, so powerful, it lingers long after the lights fade. Sometimes the greatest healers are not those with the finest titles or the biggest wealth. Sometimes, it's the quiet souls, the unseen hearts, who carry the power to restore what the world thinks is lost.